Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to World Today. I'm Taimour Shamil. Today we'll be discussing top 3 news stories from today. And the first one would be that it's been 16 years now and Afghanistan is still a disturbed place. The situation is volatile. It's still, I would say, a mess in Afghanistan. More than 45% of the land in Afghanistan is still under the Taliban control. Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, TTP and other terrorist organizations have been operating inside Afghanistan, but US top General Nicholson thinks that there is no change in Pakistan's behavior. This is what he said in a statement when he was talking to the reporters, and there is no change in Pakistan's behavior regarding the American demands, and the demands are that Pakistan should take action against the Haqqani network, another terrorist organization that which US and Afghanistan think have been operating from Pakistan. The blame game continues. We'll discuss about this. Our second topic and the second top story would be an organization, Arab Organization for Human Rights, which is based in UK, has said that they would take UAE to International Criminal Court. And according to the organization, UAE has been playing a big part in fighting a war over there, and there are criminal records, war crimes as well from Saudi Arabia and from UAE. UAE thinks that this organization is backed by Qatar. So we'll be discussing about the Middle East politics and also the politics of Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE and other countries in the Middle East. The third top story would be Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's bust has been unveiled in London Museum. It is primarily a bust which would be placed in Lincoln's Inn, which Quaid-e-Azam attended in his youth, and this certainly is the right image that Pakistan has been portraying in London. We'll be discussing about this story as well. To discuss all these stories, 3 top stories, we have our guest in the studios. Our first guest is Dr. Nasarullah Mirza. He's Chairman, Defense and Strategic Studies, Quaid-e-Azam University. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
Our second guest is Mr. Yasir Masood. He's expert on Pakistan's foreign policy. Welcome to the program, Mr. Yasir.
Thank you.
Dr. Mirza, starting with the statement that came from General Nicholson, the US top general in Afghanistan. 16 years on, Afghanistan is a mess, and the blame game continues. Pakistan has been fighting most notorious terrorist organizations in this region, I would say. Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, Al-Qaeda earlier, Daesh now, TTP, and we see that Pakistan is much more stable. So and Pakistan and US have been fighting the terrorists together as well. But when the US general says that there is no change in Pakistan's behavior, what do they expect from Pakistan? The do more mantra continues?
Yes, from this latest statement, reference come to that the do more statement is still there. And I think Pakistan has very much clarified on that issue, that do more should be from other side, because Pakistan has done much more, and Pakistan is doing internally, and Pakistan has control. I think the first country who is successful in really controlling this type of terrorism which Pakistan has faced for the last many years. And on the Afghanistan front, actually the policy which the Trump administration has announced recently, South Asia policy, that actually triggered a lot of debate and discussions, whatever is going on, and how United States of America has changed its policy itself. Right. But now we are thinking that and observing that there is a change. They have realized that actually what policy has been announced, and that was based on whatever feedback has been given by the journals who were who are totally failure in Afghanistan. So that was a reaction to their failures, and that failure has been being projected as that it was a failure on the part of participation of Pakistan itself, that Pakistan has not played that role, and all the blame game was coming toward Pakistan. I think there is a realization in the Trump administration, and I looked to look into the statement which coming from the Minister of State or a Secretary of the State, Mr. Tillerson, that is a little bit different, and coming from journal is a different tone. So, and that is what actually the journal are expecting from Pakistan, But the State Department has realized that without help and assistance of Pakistan, Afghanistan is not going to really settle in peace.
Rightly said, because the State Department is playing its own role, and that is diplomacy. Obviously, they won't talk that that directly, I may say. Mr. Yasir, talking about Afghanistan, 16 years on, I would say, still there are more terrorist organizations inside Afghanistan. There were Americans came in Afghanistan to fight Taliban, but we have TTP over there, Jamaatullah Harar operating, and also Daesh and and Taliban are fighting in Nangarhar to gain control of that land. A couple of months back, U.S. senators paid a visit to Waziristan. They were taken to Waziristan. The army chief was with them and other officials. My question is that Pakistan can take the U.S. senators to South Waziristan and North Waziristan. Can the Kabul authorities or the NATO troops for that matter take these senators to Nangarhar, Nuristan for that matter, or other Paktika, Bhatia?
Thank you very much, Taimour. I would come to your answer after a while, but I want to discuss a couple of things before, earlier than that. These kinds of stances which are emanating from the US administration recently, since Donald Trump launched this FPAC policy in August, since then we are observing like these are zigzag kind of statements are emerging from the US administration. One thing that again it seems like it's a recurrent theme in US administration to bash Pakistan, to do more. And as my colleague just mentioned, that we have done a lot. It is for the rest, for the international community and for the US itself to do more now. Secondly, being a front ally state with the US, what Pakistan has gained, loss of 70,000+ people, loss of 100 billion economy, collateral damages, and much more. So we have not gained anything from this alliance. Now, they are putting aside all our sacrifices against the war of terrorism and extremism, and we have proved to the world, to the Americans as well, this whole extremism and terrorism from our side is almost behind us, because we are more than 90%. Things are in a better shape. Extremism and terrorism are much more controlled,
and that is very conspicuous.
Exactly. So it wipes away all our efforts, all our sacrifices, which we have done, one being an ally, and second, our military personnel and our security operators, which was tailored and devised for this particular purpose. So all our sacrifices and all our efforts, just with one stance, they wipes away all our struggle against extremism and terrorism.
Right.
Secondly, I would say that it further enhances the misperception which exists in Afghanistan, in Kabul administration, because you know that this blame game rhetoric has been going on for quite some time, and we are not gaining anything out of it. Either it is Afghanistan or either it is Pakistan. It looks like that US wants to engulf, both countries. They want to create more, enmity between both Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Talking about foreign policy, just a short comment and then I'll move to Dr. Mirza, and that is that such kind of statements by the generals would have, they would adversely affect diplomacy, public diplomacy for that matter. These are damaging statements, and nobody in Pakistan would obviously positively receive this kind of statement. So mistrust would continue.
Mistrust would continue, and it further cement, as I just mentioned. It further strengthen and serving the purpose of, they have already, Afghanistan administration consider Pakistan as sole responsible for all the extremism and terrorism occurring inside Afghanistan.
16 years on, Dr. Mirza, there are more terrorist organizations in Afghanistan, and 45% of Afghanistan is still controlled by the Taliban. US generals, for that matter, or forces over there, they don't see that, but they can see a handful of, let's say, if they think they are terrorists in Pakistan, and just because of those terrorists, Afghanistan is not getting stable.
Yeah, that is a direct blame which is coming up. Actually, If we look into there's more organizations, and that may be intentional also. They may be on the back of that United States, if not directly United States of America, various organizations, multinational and entrepreneurs and all that, they are feeding to it. And that is purposefully going on. 1,000 troops which has been recently and has been promised 3,000, but 1,000 is coming next year, and they'll be watching the line along Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Right.
They are the advisors, they are the combatants, they are the agents. So what actually United States of America has the policy, on the one side of course is a carrot and stick, both policies are going on, engaging Pakistan on that, blaming Pakistan on that, and asking more and more from Pakistan to help United States of America stabilize Afghanistan. But actually United States of America is not going to stabilize Afghanistan, because stability in Afghanistan may not be in their larger interest in the policy which they have, global policy one can say, and Asia Pacific.
But don't you think so that they have pumped in trillions of dollars for that matter, American taxpayers' money, and they have lost many people over there? Peace in Afghanistan obviously would suit America. No? If they leave Afghanistan, that would be good for America and good for the countries in the region.
No, the trillions of dollars, why they have really spent there?
Fighting Taliban.
Not only that, Taliban was not that really the target itself. Target is something different,
Right.
and that is longer term. It is not that just the elimination of Taliban government itself or the Al-Qaeda itself or leadership of Al-Qaeda or what pocket of this going on in terms of terrorism and all that. I think they are the people who actually establish terrorism, not only here but all over the world.
Right. So your point is that this would continue. The
This
situation would continue like this.
Because that is helping their interest. The interest is global. Contain China, Asia Pacific policy, to contain your CPAC, and further.
But the cost is high, obviously. If we accept your argument, obviously the
But
cost is very high for even US.
Sitting at the choke point in Afghanistan, where are the pipelines? Where is the access to Central Asia of Pakistan or China itself? Where is the actually oil export coming from those pipelines and going? All has been stopped. What they have their international interest, that is, they are sitting in the choke point and really maintaining and keeping instability here,
Right.
and pursuing their own policy.
So Yasir, Pakistan's stance is that Pakistan would not become scapegoat in the region, and we won't fight anybody's war on our soil. I think this message from Pakistan is also very clear, and this was said by Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi at UNGA, that Pakistan would not become scapegoat, and the strategy in Afghanistan is a failed strategy. So these statements also are unprecedented. This time the way Pakistan has given a very clear message to the American friends and to the international community. How do you see that?
I think Pakistan had to do that because we are being pressurized and we are being labeled with this do more mantra so much now that to me it looks like a hackneyed term because it has been overused against Pakistan. So finally Pakistan had to come with a clear stance, and principally speaking, because as I mentioned earlier, that Pakistan has achieved a lot. What they expect from Pakistan anymore, because Pakistan, keep that in mind, that Pakistan does not have the capacity to do more. And instead of appreciating Pakistan's sacrifices and Pakistan's role, if they are pressurizing Pakistan to do more, that is not in the interest of the US as well. Secondly, there must be a growing realization inside Afghanistan now that 16 years on in Afghanistan, what US has achieved, rationally speaking, they did not achieve anything.
But interestingly, we obviously criticize the big players in Afghanistan, but at times we overlook the role of Kabul administration for that matter. Because what Americans say is that they have been pumping in money in Afghanistan, but still massive corruption is rampant in Afghanistan. You can read New York Times and it reports very clearly on the massive corruption, internal political instability, and 45% of land, as I said earlier, is controlled by the Taliban. So transparency is very important when we talk about this whole issue.
Transparency is very important, as well as synchronization and harmony between the between different stakeholders is also very important. And I have been saying this many a times, that if Kabul administration needs to take baby steps, and the baby steps are, if they want to settle things on their own, the first step they need to take is to bring about all these different factions, including Taliban, because this figure varies from 40 to 50%, that they are holding about 50% of land in Afghanistan. So without the inclusion of Taliban on the negotiation table, it would be a futile exercise. So there has to be a settlement between different factions and between the government as well. And as you just mentioned, that there is massive corruption, and we definitely overlook that how much Kabul administration is concerned about peace and stability in Afghanistan. We as regional players, China, Russia, and we as Pakistanis are much more concerned. And we have been extending our peaceful hands to Afghanistan. But again, the situation comes back to square one because of two reasons. One, because of US stances, and second, because of India's growing role inside Afghanistan. That creates further misperceptions and misunderstandings between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
What can Pakistan do, Dr. Mirza? Army chief also visited, Pakistan's army chief visited Kabul along with our foreign secretary Tahmina Janjua. Pakistani officials have been visiting Kabul. They have been meeting the Kabul administration and the Afghan officials. Even then, we don't see any improvement, let's say, between relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan and such kind of statements. What do you think? What should Pakistan do, let's say, to perhaps improve the relations?
The first thing, the government in Afghanistan, which we're saying the administration in Afghanistan, it has no popular support. More than 50%, as we're saying, territory is being controlled by Taliban and all that. Not only that, they have a control limited to Kabul only, not beyond Kabul. They have no control. So is that really government? Is there really administration to whom we are really terming as administration? They are the puppet, to be very frank, from the United States of America, and that the puppet government is there in Afghanistan. But fine, Pakistan is even then trying to cooperate with them, that the stability in Afghanistan should come, and we are offering all types of help and assistance. Till that, whatever they are demanding, we are trying to really suit that to what level we can really offer for that. For example, if there be any type of exchange of prisoners, wanted person, there is a border management itself, all those issues, fencing of the border, if that is required on their side, we have fenced on our side, tried to fence on our side, now there was a problem. So trust deficit is there.
16 years on.
And that trust deficit has been created and reiterated repeatedly, although Pakistan is doing.
So what are the options then? That we should secure our areas, let's say FATA, that connected with the Afghan border, and also play a proactive role. We need a proactive diplomacy, let's say, to give answer to all those statements that come from Afghanistan or which have Afghanistan in the context, let's say.
Of course, that is the only option, we have to do that. But of course, we have to settle our own area, and that should become into the mainstream. And border itself has been secured, and border management should be strictly, and mechanism should be developed on that. And side by side, yes, diplomacy is required internationally, that we should, our perspective should be, true perspective should be really projected by diplomacy internationally. Right. Not only that, and then the solution in Afghanistan is regional solution. So all the stakeholders and the regional states, they should be taken on the task.
Right.
and they can resolve the issue, and then the stability and peace can be in a stable
Moving
form.
on to the next top story, Yasir, we were discussing about Arab Organization for Human Rights. This is an organization that is based in UK, and they have taken the case to International Criminal Court, and they've said that UAE is involved in war crimes in Yemen. Yemen is a disturbed area, we all know that. A massive war going on in Yemen, and UAE is Saudi Arabia's ally in Yemen. So this, and UAE thinks that this organization is backed by Qatar. So Qatar is no more in the group. How do you see the Middle Eastern politics and the events that are unfolding now?
Well, since all eyes are set on Saudi Arabia when we talk about Middle East politics, and until and unless these lunatic policies, I would say, which are emanating from Saudi Arabia against Yemen, if it carries on like this, situation can go from bad to worst. And as far as this particular bit is concerned, that an international human rights organization has taken it to ICC, I think so that the diplomatic means must be used, because I see that there is again there are misperceptions and misunderstanding amongst different countries in Middle East. So until and unless they use those diplomatic means to resolve issues amongst themselves, and instead human rights organizations or other organizations, if they carry the burden of resolving their issues, it won't be it won't serve the purpose. So I would personally believe that Saudi Arabia should play a very positive role, because it's like when we talk about Middle East, it is a bigger player, it is considered as a regional hegemon if we talk about Middle East. So sanity must prevail and diplomatic means must be used, because it can lead to further chaos.
Positive role of Saudi Arab, Dr. Mirza. Saudi Arab and their stance is that they have been playing the positive role. It is the Houthi rebels in Yemen, supported by Iran, who are a threat, who pose a threat to Saudi Arab. And Saudi Arab therefore has gone to war with the Houthi rebels in Yemen. How do you see it? Is it Iran-Saudi rivalry, obviously, and a poor country like Yemen is involved now?
Yes, actually that is there's a politics in the Middle East which is going on. There's a two poles are there, one on Iran, on the other side is Saudi Arabia. So this all struggle is actually to have a dominance in the region, and the role of as a dominant one can say actor is being given by United States of America to Saudi Arabia. And whatever recent development has been on Middle East between Saudi Arabia and United States, the last visit, rather the recent visit of Trump, the red carpet have been given, and many more agreement have been signed, and billions of dollars have been gone. Why all that has been happening? And the other, who is actually moderating all that, and who is that? What is the lobby in United States of America for Saudi Arabia, for Waliyad Salman, which is being projected the next king also. And further, it has been projected that he is a liberal person and he's want some liberal Islam and all has been also projected. That is being projected as the youth of Saudi Arabia.
So you think that US and Saudi Arabia, they have the same policy for Middle East?
100%.
And they would be
100%.
fighting, let's say.
That is not the new one. There is the old policy and going on.
But Iran, we also see, is very ambitious in the region, in Middle East for that matter. And they have, obviously.
Why not Iran should go for that? Iran has the same right. If Saudi Arabia has the right for the dominance, why not Iran? So that has been really exploited, the Shia-Sunni divide itself. And that divide there in these countries, Yemen and all that areas. And I think that is the fault line which is being exploited. And all Middle East, actually, if we go deep into, we find these fight lines.
And this war can continue like this, Yasir. Thousands of people have lost their lives in Yemen for that matter. Recently, Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi and Chief of Army Staff, they were visiting Riyadh. Earlier, Army Chief went to Iran as well. What is Pakistan's perspective, let's say, to the Middle East crisis, Yemen for that matter, and a balance between Iran and Saudi Arabia? How do you see it?
I think Pakistani perspective is very clear, because we cannot take sides in this matter. Because if we take side of the alliance of Saudi Arabia, so we have a very good relations with Iran as well. So as far as, because Pakistan is concerned as a Muslim state, we should remember and keep one thing in mind, that we always have direct or indirect implication whatever happens in the Muslim world. So right now, Pakistan must use its diplomatic means very wisely and very rationally and work like a moderator between both countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia or whether it's Iran. Unfortunately, Yemen as a small state, a poor country, has become an epicenter of of war between, it's like pulverizing and being grinded by the US and Iran rivalry. So in that matter, Pakistan, for Pakistan, whether it's Yemen, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Iran, or whether it's UAE or Qatar, all countries are Muslim countries. We have a brotherly relations with them. So Pakistan must play a very positive role, must play a role where they can resolve the issue.
We have to take a break at this point, and we'll take a break and continue our discussion on the Yemen issue. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are discussing Middle East crisis and also politics in the Middle East. UAE has said that the organization which went to ICC, the Arab Organization for Human Rights, is backed by Qatar. And we're talking about the Yemen war. Dr. Mirza, Iran and Saudi Arabia and the war that is at play in Yemen, how do you see it? Iran is also ambitious about their designs in the region, so is Saudi Arabia. But the thing is that this war is already worse, I would say. As the situation is pretty bad in Yemen. How do you see it?
Not only Yemen, in the whole Middle East actually that is happening. Yes, Arab and Ajam, that conflict is from the very beginning, no doubt. But that sectarian fault line has been not that prominent, which have been made prominent now. And that is being exploited by external factors. Actually, what is the policy of United States of America in the region? That is to keep battles outside from their mainland. So the fighting within, and that fighting within is within the Muslims. Why came in Afghanistan? Why in Iraq? And then going on in Middle East, all that. Right. And United States of America is very much successful. They have saved and secured their mainland since 9/11, whatever policies they have adopted. And in fighting within Muslim
internal
is going on, and those fault lines are being exploited. Ambitions are there, no doubt. Iran itself has been ambitions of an empire. It has been empire in the past. And Saudi Arabia also is playing that role in the Middle East from the very beginning, and United States of America is behind it and supporting all that. Kingship is being supported by Democrat itself, who has been projecting the value is democracy all over the world. Why actually that is happening? So I think, of course, Iran is also trying for that as a major role, and Iran is also capable for that and have a potential, no doubt. And Saudi Arabia have a money for, which is a bigger potential for United States of America. And the United States of America is controlling and really pursuing its own interest.
But as you said,
instability in Middle East.
Internal rifts are there. Internal rift is there. Obviously, and we have to address those issues that are internal. let's say, and the Middle Eastern countries, the Arab countries, Muslim countries, they have to solve all these issues, obviously. How do you see it, Yasir?
Well,
do you agree with Mirza Saab that we should blame US for that matter, what is happening in the Middle East, or do you think that the responsibility is also of the countries themselves?
Well, we have to see that, yes, US is also responsible. We cannot take US out of this equation when we talk about Middle Eastern crisis or the chaos which is underway. And we see that these are very dangerous signs which are happening right now between different states in the Middle East. I would like to say one very important thing here, that considering other states, for example, if Saudi Arabia consider their neighboring states as the subordinating states, and keeping the war inside, out of its territory, and in other countries, let's for that matter Yemen, or whatever Iranian ambitions are. So between this rivalry, both these nations, both these countries must realize that this chaos which is being fired by both of them, they should keep that in mind, that Saudi Arabia and Iran will also be in the fold of whole this chaos and crisis. They won't be able to save themselves from this from this chaos. So that's where I'm saying that they have to resolve things amongst themselves, because if you keep on looking an outsider, let's for example US, and we believe that US is fueling and funneling more crisis and in the Middle East. So sanity should prevail amongst the state themselves, and who is hurting who? Right. I mean, Muslim states, brotherly states, are fighting amongst each other for whatever the reason is, for the dominance or for the purpose of any economic or financial gains. But at the end of the day, who is going to suffer? These states, these nations, people of these nations will be suffering. And that's why I'm saying that all the Muslim countries, including Pakistan can play a very positive role. Pakistan can play a very rational role in this crisis, right, because we see perspective from a different angle.
But there is also this larger game, Dr. Mirza, and that is that we are perhaps forgetting Russia. Russia is very much involved in Middle East, and we sort of see two blocks, Russia, Iran bloc and the US, Saudi Arabia bloc.
Yes.
And let's say these two blocks are addressing the issues in Middle East. Do you see any rift between these two blocks, and do you think that things would improve in the future?
Actually, the problem is that we are facing a crisis of leadership. We mean Muslim, all Muslim countries. And that is a problem. And that problem is hurting really all Muslim states. At this moment, there is no leader really, if we look into the Muslim state. That is the one problem which is faced by us. On the other side, because the other pole is also emerging, re-emergence of the second pole is coming up. United States of America is no more a unipolar.
Right.
The second pole is emerging, and second pole is China and so Russia itself. And the whole belt may be included with Pakistan, may be also favorable to it, and Turkey. If that pole emerges, then whatever United States of America is trying to do here, and what instability has been created for the purpose of their selling of all arms, which they have already have a deal with Saudi Arabia, and all other regions, all is going on, pumping into all types of arms, which is actually the interest of the military-industrial complex.
Right.
And that is the entrepreneur interest which is going on. Similar is from Russian side also. They are favoring on the other side. So both are pursuing their national interest, but who is becoming the victim of all that?
The people.
The people.
The people.
The pole has to emerge. The pole has to emerge, because that is the ultimate, because the solution of the problem itself, which has been in the multipolar world, for the weaker state were more safer. There were a little bit proxy wars, or there was no direct war between the two poles, but United States of America, since post-Cold War onward is a unipolar actor and exploiting and violating all types of international norms and laws and everything.
So, lastly, Yasir, what is the way out for the people of Yemen for that matter? This can continue for next few years. How do you see it?
Yes, I mean,
I hope not.
I hope not, and we have all the sympathies with Yemen because considering the Yemen diplomacy or the Yemen role in the region, we see that it's a very minor role. So, and that's why we feel sympathy for them. And then there has to be countries, Muslim countries, brotherly states. For example, if Qatar is taking some steps to help out Yemen, so we should take it positive because these are positive steps. But on the other side,
Qatar is also accused by these countries that it is joining the Iran bloc.
Iran bloc, yes, but so, I mean, this is the blame game rhetoric is going on. But because of all that, Yemen is suffering, and there has to be some pragmatic solution. Their sanity must prevail so that Yemen can be saved from all this conundrum and chaos.
Our next top story, and that is the third top story, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Jinnah's bust was unveiled at London Museum, and this bust would be placed in Lincoln's Inn. How do you see this gesture and this bust of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Jinnah, which would be placed in Lincoln's Inn?
It is too late, but it's good. Something happened.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Right.
It should have been much earlier. But fine, if that comes late, at least it has come. Because the recognition of Muhammad Ali Jinnah as a leader and as a hero of not only Muslim world, but he is a founder of Pakistan. That has been recognized at this moment and has placed. I think this similar, if we look into other states, in Germany, I have seen that Hazrat Allama Iqbal itself, where he has been living there in Heidelberg, that flat itself, on the front of the flat, has been written all that, the statement, the Geschichte and the Muslim.
I think this is a very German way of appreciating the intellectuals, you know.
And that is similar if is going on in
London.
London. I think that is a good omen and is a really a recognition for the leadership.
Father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he lived in UK, in London. He studied there, and his bust would be placed in Lincoln's Inn. And for the Pakistani community as well, Yasir, you have been visiting UK. For the Pakistani community, I think it's very good news and encouraging for them that their leader and father of the nation, his bust is now at Lincoln's Inn.
Yes, it's a very encouraging sign and a very positive omen from for the whole nation, I would say. And especially, I personally lived in London for quite some time, and there is a lot of community, like Pakistani community living there. And I mean, very small things at times, it makes us very proud, and patriotism is always there because once you're away from your home. So I think so it's for all the people, for all the community who are in the UK, and as well as for all of us. And at least there is some sort of recognition, international recognition of our leader.
For the new generation as well. The generation which would be studying at Lincoln's Inn, you know, in the future, they would know Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a great leader of subcontinent, a father of the nation, and to the Pakistani community as well. The kids would be learning more about Jinnah Sahib.
It is much more beyond that. Once like for example, it is unveiled now, so it will unveil the whole history. You know, the partition which took between Pakistan and India in that context. And some of the narratives which, for example, are being manipulated and twisted in the as far as international arena is concerned. So people would realize, especially the international community, would read the history. So and it is a very positive sign for the entire nation.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Dr. Mirza, pleasure having on the program. Mr. Yasir, Masood, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. This is all from today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz. wind up. There is short-term solution and long-term solution. Short-term solution would be to use force, let's say, against the terrorists. But the long-term solution would be to educate the masses in the Muslim world, and also that states should perform. They should perform in the area of good governance, give people what they want, fulfill their basic needs and educate them if we want to fight extremism. Do you agree with this?
I agree, but at the same time I would say that we need to see that what is the permanent solution to the problem. May it be, if it is there can be a combination of short-term and long-term solutions, but it has to be permanent.
Right. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Mr. Hassan Rashid, pleasure having on the program. Mr. Shiraz, thank you for your time. That's all from today. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.